all starts with, I think, the degrading of the body that pornography does. It degrades women, and it also does something, I think it degrades men, because it makes them feel that that's what they are created for, is to use women and to make use of their body in ways that they shouldn't. I think it's degrading to both men and women when it's such a horrendous thing that's happening to our culture, and it's devastating to marriages.
It is assaulting the human spirit, but it doesn't stop there. It's rewiring personality. It's rewiring neurology. It's breaking down social codes that even non-Christian nations once upheld.
Pornography is tragically rampant. I read various statistics and articles, which I won't quote verbatim, but some of the gist of the information that I've received in my study is there are more hardcore porno shops in America than there are McDonald's restaurants. Pornography on the internet is a multi-billion-dollar industry, more than all professional sports combined.
We have 2 tsunamis aimed at the U.S., one from the West Coast and one from the East Coast, and they're both called pornography.
What does this tell us? It tells us there is this aching hunger in the human being to want to understand the meaning of the human body and human sexuality. But when the banquet of God's glorious, beautiful, wonderful plan for our bodies is not known, is not proclaimed, we're inevitably taken in by the dumpster, so to speak. The hunger is not the problem. The desire to want to understand the body is God-given. But when the truth of the body is not proclaimed, we fall for the lies. So pornography is rampant because the hunger is in everybody and the truth of the body is not being proclaimed.
1 out of 6 adult males is not only using pornography, but is addicted in the sense of a psychobiological urge, which is virtually irresistible.
Pornography is so now apparently deeply embedded in our culture that it can't help but affect Catholics, perhaps even priests and religious.
Many priests, if you ask priests, they'll tell you that I get emails, the finest men in my parish are now addicted to internet porn. And what do you mean by an addiction? Well, first of all, we mean that the person's ability to say no over time is severely impaired with.
That's why I think this is such a strong issue, is because it's affecting everybody.
For a lot of males, it's just kind of a norm, if you will, in growing up and being introduced to pornography and that being a part of their lives, and they don't perceive it to be truly a problem or an issue until we allow them to know and understand it is an issue.
This is why pornography is making it so difficult for men and women really to date one another and discover one another and learn about one another, because we have this pornographic prism through which we're looking at one another, sizing one another up, and I'm only going to date somebody if this person appeals to my lustful desire to gratify myself, because I am trained in my very psychosexual development by pornography to treat the other as object for me.
A lot of times, again, it just seems to be the thing that men do, and even sometimes on the women's behalf, they just kind of accept it as such. And really, until they begin to understand, maybe from an intellectual perspective, the damages that it does do in the relationship. Again, a lot of times the women are experiencing symptoms, if you will, of being used or not being pretty enough or beautiful enough, and they fail to understand that maybe it's because their husband's engaging in pornography and seeing these different images, if you will, and then the women ultimately feeling that they can't hold up to those images.
Here's a woman with no blemishes because the computer has altered her to look that way. I can get all my pleasure without any of this pain and sacrifice. That is why I think the porn culture is not only delaying marriage, but ultimately it's deleting marriage.
To beat pornography and the pornified culture, it's a twofold thing. We learn to see correctly, and we choose to. We choose to. Both are important. John Paul II said that pornography, the problem with pornography is, first of all, not the naked human body. So the naked human body is not in itself wrong.
We lack purity of heart. Sex is all about me and my selfish gratification rather than learning how to lay down my life for someone else. This is utterly destructive to society at the foundation of society, which is the male-female relationship.
Probably 1 out of 5 females struggle with sexual addiction of one type or another.
What is bad about pornography is that it incites lust in the viewer. You know, what is the difference between the Sistine Chapel and all its nudes and the nakedness of pornography? John Paul II says it lies in the intention of the artist. The intention of Michelangelo in the portrayal of the naked body was to awaken in the viewer authentic love and appreciation for the beauty and dignity of the human being as God created the human being to be.